Are these the new samples, you think?
I think so.
Picturing myself as a fashion designer was the last thing I could have envisioned 2 years ago. What do you think? I was a lawyer, you know, in various capacities for about 7 years. Had I not started my own business and created my own escape route, that I would today still be practicing law. And truth be told, I'd probably be miserable.
2 years ago, Scott Jordan said goodbye to stress and grief.
Had I continued on that path, in all likelihood, I'd be making, you know, upwards of $300,000–400,000 today.
These days, his life is ruled not by the law, but by his own impulses to problem solve and be creative.
It's a complete lifestyle change, and you control your own destiny. And I think that's what I enjoy most. Not bad. That's a good day.
Yes, it's from Scott Jordan, who created it. And it's the e-vest because it holds all your electronic gadgets. And it's a vest in the sense that there's removable sleeves.
The SCOTTeVEST is sort of a convergence of apparel, technology, and luggage.
Not everyone was impressed by the ex-Legal Eagle's curious coat.
All of my friends and prior law partners told me I was crazy.
There was a little bit of issue when Scott decided to stop practicing law and go into something entirely different with the production of a SCOTTeVEST, was that he was nuts. Of course, we knew Scott was nuts anyway.
The financial risks were immense. I mean, going from making $150,000 to losing $70,000 was very, very difficult. I'm wondering if you were ready to receive a sample. There were some days where I really had to say to myself, am I doing the right thing? Hope to talk to you soon. Thanks a lot, Janet. Bye.
One of the biggest deciding factors in making this radical change was the support Scott got from his wife.
Thanks.
I remember one night, he sat up in his sleep, sound asleep, and said, "Miserable, miserable, no end in sight," and laid back down. Never woke up. I told him about it in the morning. And I think it kind of summed up. Even though he loved practicing law, I think it was just this grind he was going through.
And if I couldn't take a risk at that time, no kids and, a wife earning an income and, then when could I?
Then there was a knock on the door.
I was offered an opportunity to co-found a .com. And it was at that job that I really came up with this idea for the SCOTTeVEST.
But why a vest? As they say, necessity is the mother of all inventions.
Every time I went out of the house, with my wife, I would hand her gadget after gadget to carry and put in her purse. And she said, what you need is a vest, some garment that has a lot of pockets to do this. And I said, that's a great idea.
And that's where we started talking about it. Just saying, you know what, you need something like a fisherman vest to carry it in. And I think it just evolved from that.
But taking a simple idea like this tech vest to the marketplace wasn't going to be easy.
If I failed, I could lose my house. I'm sorry.
Find out how his passion led him to success when we return.
There was a study done by Playboy about guys and their toys. And the statistics were amazing. In some cases, they prefer playing with their gadgets to having sex.
As namesake and inventor of SCOTTeVEST technology-enabled clothing, Scott Jordan designs exactly what he needs.
We still have to design the badge.
Scott was a real estate lawyer, but after a few years, he escaped from the law.
I'm glad I'm not here anymore.
Scott started designing clothes and accessories for tech-loving trendsetters across the globe.
Where's the big one? 20.
Initially, Scott tried to sell his product to wholesalers and chains.
A manually intensive process.
But that didn't work out too well, so he had to change his strategy.
I had never intended to sell online. It was an afterthought. And the day my website went live, I had like 500 orders, and I hadn't even lined up a manufacturer. They were all pre-orders, and I knew I really had a great idea at that point.
I think we're going to beat your sales goal, though. I'm pretty sure.
This month?
I think so.
One of the most difficult things for me in starting a business was learning how to manage people. I've tried to take some of my own frustrations in my prior career and learn from those experiences and incorporate some of the aspects of my lifestyle into my work environment, whether it's being able to play darts or taking everyone out to a ball game. What I've learned, and I'm learning every day, is the job satisfaction goes way beyond money.
Unlike his previous career, where he spent every day dotting the I's and crossing the T's, Scott now has the freedom to spend his day however he wishes.
I'm going to work from home for the morning. Frequently, I sit at home and sit on my plasma screen computer and work wirelessly with my dog next to me, and sometimes I work out on the patio with wireless computer. I think that one of the things as a small business, I make all the marketing decisions. I can be edgy. I don't have to consult with someone else if I want to do something.
But Scott's biggest payoff has been his relationship with his wife.
The transition from law to this business changed my personal life drastically. Number one, when I was practicing law, my wife really wasn't terribly interested in one lease or one mortgage or any of the deals that I did. But she was fascinated, in terms of how I marketed the product and what articles were coming out. And, our dinner conversation revolved around discussing, various aspects of the business. It was really helpful to be able to turn to someone for that level of support. That's one way. Another way was to free up my time. I mean, I get to spend a tremendous amount of time with my wife.
Our lives are better now because not only does he love what he does, he's really happy and relaxed, and he can control his own destiny.
That was a good run. Looking back on practicing law, I remember going through these books in great detail, looking for cases and statutes that would help my client's position. I can't think of a more radical transition from sitting here in a law library to what I'm doing right now. It's been quite a ride, a long, strange trip, and it's not over. It really isn't. I mean, I have a lot of other ideas that I'm considering doing, but it won't be going back to practicing law, I can assure you of that.
Find more information at fineliving.com. Real information for real people.